All right, so we just got our final 2 trailers of D23. So just to make it easier, I'm just going to react to the trailers in the meantime. And hopefully on Sunday I'll be able to talk a little bit more of some of the updates from D23. But the first one that just showed up is Snow White. That one is something that has definitely been, I guess you can say, very controversial, just because of all the things that have been happening in terms of making Snow White. So the situation with the dwarves and how they're going to not do dwarves, and then they regress from that and actually did do dwarves using CGI. Then there was that whole situation with Richard Zegler and some of the comments that she made that a lot of people mistook in terms of what she was trying to communicate. So there was that. And even the casting itself has been something that a lot of people have been criticizing. We did actually get a first footage of, or at least a first image of it about a couple months ago. Was hit with a couple of mixed reviews. And then on top of that, we haven't really gotten any updates since, but it looks like we're finally going to be getting this movie. It's coming out in March 2025. So yeah, without further ado, we're going to watch that in a bit, as well as the fact that we're about to close it off with Mufasa. We actually did get a teaser trailer about a couple months ago. We finally now have a full trailer for it. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right down into watching the trailers for Snow White and Mufasa. Oh, those animals. Okay. There are the 7 dwarves.
So, whistle while you work.
Oh my god.
Whistle while you work.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest one of all?
Oh, there's the apple. March 2025.
It's
Aw.
time I tell you a story. A story of a cub, not much bigger than you.
So just to be clear, we're not in this story?
There's a lot of stories with all of us. Tell one of those.
Long before they became legends, Mufasa and the prince who would come to be known as Scar became brothers.
Hello, what's your name?
Mufasa.
I told you to wait for me.
We can't just leave him here.
Rules are rules, Tucker. The king will never accept a stray.
I'm not a stray. I'm just lost.
Aww. This is actually
Do not
cute.
associate with outsiders. Tucker is the future king. We must protect the bloodline.
Oh, there you go.
Dad, I saved his life. I have a secret, Mufasa. I always wanted a brother.
I always wanted a brother.
Aww.
I always wanted a brother.
Then we know what happens.
Sometimes I get a scent. It's barely a trace on the wind. And it smells like home. Then it's gone.
You and Tucker together. That is home. Now both of you go. Find your place in the circle of life.
The circle is broken. There will be one Lion King.
Mufasa, run!
We must fight together. If we fight, we die.
Just to be clear, I never signed up for this!
I'm here to protect you, my brother.
Mufasa! This was a bad idea! We're alive! I did it! I saved us!
You're saying?
Those were the trailers for Snow White and Mufasa right there. So let's quickly talk about Snow White. Doesn't look too bad, doesn't look too shabby. Rachel Zegler, just hearing her having her musical beats, I mean, that was something that I was like, yo, I was smiling. I again, there's a reason why she is one of the she's really great at singing. There's a reason why she keeps getting cast for a lot of roles that require singing. We see that with West Side Story. We see that with the Hunger Games, about Hunger and Snakes, and now we see that here in Snow White. I think it proves why she was cast as Snow White, just not because of what she looks or anything like that, but more so what she's able to provide for the character. And just from the looks of it, you can feel the innocence of who Snow White is and how she's interacting with some of the characters. So that's one thing. In terms of visual, it doesn't look too bad. It definitely gives off that fantastical, whimsical feel to it. So, not too shabby with that, although I will say it is a very, you can get the sense of how it's really super CGI'd. So, that's just my one big notice. Like, okay, you can tell everything is CGI. And we already knew about the doors being CGI, but almost everything feels like CGI. So that was one thing. Gal Gadot, I mean, she seems okay as the Evil Queen. We do get some snippets here and there, but not too convinced with Gal Gadot. Again, I'm not the biggest Gal Gadot fan, honestly, because I feel like a lot of the characters that she plays are pretty similar. But we don't really get a lot of footage here. We do see one part where she is having this maniacal laugh, but aside from that, I haven't seen a lot more of her character, so probably we'll see a little bit more in the full trailer and get to actually see a little bit more of the Evil Queen. So that's all to say about Snow White right there. In terms of Mufasa, I have to say, like, when the first trailer came out, like at least the teaser trailer, I was just like, okay, another Lion King movie, where we get like this seemingly computer generated sort of live action, but not really live action movie. We didn't get a whole lot from the Mufasa trailer, although just seeing Mufasa is just like, wow, like we get to see kind of Mufasa's side of the story. So that's one thing. But I think having seen this trailer, I feel a little bit more optimistic. Like before I was like, okay, whatever, Mufasa, I'll just watch it in theaters, but like I won't be like too hyped. I will say seeing this new trailer right here, I feel like there's a lot more promise now, just knowing what the story is, seeing what that relationship is like between Mufasa and Scar, and now we know actually Scar's real name is apparently Taka, so interesting bit right there. And seeing what basically rose to the occasion for Mufasa to eventually become this king. So now we're seeing a little bit of that context of how Mufasa became to be that person that we eventually see in the original Lion King movie. So I actually have to say, like, having now seen a little bit more context of that, I actually am now interested. Like, just watching it, it's like, okay, you're seeing the snippet of Scar and Mufasa together, how they have this brotherly bond. And of course, because what we already know what happens in Lion King, it's like, this is gonna be a Shakespearean tragedy. Something's going to trigger them to break apart, how they're no longer gonna be brothers, right? And we can get the sense where a lot of this conflict is, like, where there's like separate tribes, and how there's that conflict. So it's not like Romeo and Juliet in a way, but again, it does have that Shakespearean tragedy involved in it. And that's, of course, very common when it comes to Lion King movies, because there's a lot of that Shakespearean influence, right? So Lion King with the Hamlet, Lion King Part 2 being Romeo and Juliet. Again, I can't remember if there was ever a Shakespearean story that involves like brothers. There probably is one. I just can't think of the top of my head because right now I'm so tired. But again, you can get the sense of the tragedy that's going to happen. Like you can get the essence of it coming from this trailer. Just again, just how we're seeing this really, joyful two friends who consider each other brothers, and now we know, and we actually already know what's going to happen. It's just like what leads up to these moments. So again, I mean, prequels, all right. I mean, I know a lot of us would like to move forward with stories, and it's like, why do we keep on having prequels? But I think now having some new footage for Mufasa, I think I'm a little bit more optimistic. So I cannot wait to see Mufasa. I just need to see a little bit more stuff for Snow White. But yeah, those are the 2 trailers that we got from D23. Let me know your thoughts having seen it. For Snow White, like, what are your thoughts about having seen the first teaser for it? Are you convinced that Rachel Zegler is actually pretty good casting for Snow White, or do you still need a little bit more? What do you think about Gal Gadot as the evil queen? What do you think about just the visuals that we've seen so far? Do you think it is still appetizing to see so much of that CGI, or do you think that this is kind of where, you know, you're starting to see a little bit more of the problems with these live action remakes? In terms of Mufasa, what is your thoughts about now having actually seen a little bit more context of what the Mufasa movie is going to be about, the new details about the relationship between Mufasa and Scar, and what this be leading up to? What do you think about the actual visuals themselves? Again, I mean, I will still say the visuals themselves are a little, I mean, it's a little bit, it's okay. It definitely gives me off kind of my feelings when I saw the Lion King one from 2019, but I do feel like there's a little bit of an improvement with the computer generation and all that sort of stuff to make them a little bit more lively. So I will say there's some improvement since then, but maybe you have other thoughts. Let me know your thoughts below, and make sure to like and subscribe.